don't remember sleeping. You remember cold concrete, a ceiling with no markings, a number stenciled on your footlocker in black paint, 187. Not a name, a number. That is what you are now. The facility runs at 61 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Someone once said it keeps the mind sharp. No one disputes it. No one disputes anything here, not in the first weeks. You learn that silence is the first language of this place, and you are still learning the alphabet. The mornings begin at 0430, not 4:31, not 4:29. The difference matters, and you learn this not from an instructor, but from the sound of the man next to you being removed from his bunk for being 30 seconds late on day 3. He does not return to the program. You run. You carry weight. You submerge in water that sits at 48 degrees for intervals timed by men who do not watch you from the warmth of the shore they stand in it too, boots and all, and they do not shake. That stillness is the first thing you try to steal from them. There is a hum in the walls here. You notice it on night 4, lying awake, cataloging the sounds of the facility the way you were trained to catalog terrain. It is the hum of climate systems, of servers, of generators that have no off switch. The compound breathes whether you are in it or not. You are beginning to understand that this is the point.
You have no rank here yet. You have a number, a bunk, a ration of 3,200 calories per day measured with institutional precision, and a slot in a formation that has existed for 11 years before you arrived and will exist for 11 years after you leave. You are not joining something. You are being inserted into something. The distinction is quiet but permanent. At 14 months, you are designated an operator. There is no ceremony. A team leader informs you at 0600 on a Tuesday. He hands you a different colored identification lanyard. You return to the same bunk, the same mess, the same 61-degree corridors. Only the lanyard has changed. Only you notice. The first mission you are assigned to is classified at a level you cannot discuss with anyone who is not in the room when it is briefed. You are briefed in a room with 6 other people. The mission debrief happens in a room with 2. What went wrong stays in the smaller room. Over the next 3 years, you advance twice more. Each advancement is procedural, a file review, a performance score calculated across 47 discrete metrics. An interview that does not feel like an interview, it feels like a diagnostic. Someone assesses whether you are still an asset. You pass. You are given more access, more weight to carry, more names on more lists that you will forget on command. You are sent to a country you cannot name. You make a decision at 0217 local time that removes a problem from a situation. The problem weighs approximately 190 pounds and had a name you were briefed on, but are not permitted to write down. You do not write it down. You complete the extraction window in 4 minutes and 11 seconds. The debrief calls this a successful outcome. You file it in the same place you file everything else from that room. You are promoted to senior operator at year 4. The lanyard changes again. The corridor temperature does not. You learn the unspoken grammar of the organization, the way you learn the layout of a target building slowly, methodically, by moving through it in low light until you stop needing to think about the turns. There are the rules that are written, and there are the rules that govern the rules. The written ones tell you how to submit an operational report. The unwritten ones tell you which facts to lead with, which to bury in paragraph 7, and which to express so technically that they require a specific clearance to understand and a second specific clearance to investigate. No one teaches you this. You watch senior operators move through paperwork the way surgeons move through a chest cavity, economical, unhurried, and precise about which things to leave untouched. Budget allocations for your unit run at approximately $4.7 million per quarter in disclosed operational funding. You learn, by year 5, that the disclosed figure and the operational figure are not the same figure. No one tells you this directly. You infer it from the equipment you are issued, the vehicles you ride in, and the fact that none of it appears on any inventory you have ever been asked to sign. There are 18 people in your immediate unit. You know their operational profiles, their threshold tolerances, their failure points under duress. You know which one will hold in a compromised position for 4 hours and which one will begin making decisions at the 90-minute mark that were not authorized in the briefing room. You do not know their middle names. You do not know if they have children. That information does not belong in a mission-critical relationship. The organization taught you this and you accepted it as efficiency. You still believe it was efficiency. Creative compliance is the term no one uses but everyone practices. A target window closes at 0300 per the operational order. The target window actually remains viable until approximately 0317 under the conditions present that night. You make a judgment call at 0304 and submit a report that reads, objective, completed, within revised tactical parameters. The report is approved. No one asks what the revised parameters were. The system is not designed to ask. The system is designed to process outcomes. You are in your 7th year when you realize that you cannot tell someone outside the program a true thing about your life without either lying or going silent. You have become practiced at both. The person you lived with before the program still exists somewhere outside the perimeter of this thing. You speak to her on the phone for 11 minutes on a Sunday when you are stateside. She asks how you are. You say fine. She says you sound different. You say the connection is bad. The connection is not bad. The connection to the person you were before the selection process is bad. That person filed the same form you did at the entry gates. He did not come back out. Sleep arrives in fragments. Not because of nightmares, you were assessed as low risk for acute trauma response in 3 consecutive annual evaluations. Sleep fragments because the part of your brain that runs threat assessment does not receive the signal to stand down. You wake at sounds that are nothing. You catalogue exits in restaurants. You sit with your back to walls in rooms where no threat exists, and you understand that this is no longer a tactic. It is your resting state. A man in your cohort designation 204 is moved out of the unit in year 8, not discharged, reassigned. The official language is transitioned to advisory capacity. You understand that 204 had begun to exhibit what the organization calls signal degradation, micro-hesitations at decision points that were measurable in the performance data. The system caught it before 204 did. You spend 2 days after his reassignment running your own mental inventory. You find nothing. Or perhaps you have already learned to file the concerning things in paragraph 7. Isolation is not a punishment here. It is a function. You are too compartmentalized to have a social life in the conventional sense. You are too operationally primed to relax in the conventional sense. You move through civilian spaces the way a piece of specialized equipment moves through a general-purpose workspace present, functional, and subtly mismatched to the environment. You are always the coldest thing in any warm room. It does not happen with a gun in your hand. That is the version people expect. The version that actually happens occurs at 13:40 on a Wednesday in a routine briefing room that smells of recycled air and dry erase markers. You are reviewing mission architecture for a forthcoming deployment when you notice that the target profile contains a name you recognize, not from a previous briefing, not from intelligence cross-referencing. You recognize it because you were the one who elevated it 3 years ago in a report that recommended further monitoring. The report was filed. The monitoring happened. The name was watched for 37 months. And now, the name is a target. You do not say anything in the briefing. You ask one procedural question about ingress timing. You take your briefing packet. You return to your workstation. The realization is not moral outrage. You are not naive enough or young enough for moral outrage. The realization is quieter and more permanent than that. It is the understanding that you are not an operator of the system. You are a component of it. The reports you filed, the calls you made, the decisions you took in the 0-200 hours of other people's countries, they were not your decisions in any meaningful sense. They were inputs. The system processed them. The system produced outputs. You were the instrument, not the hand. The illusion that crumbles is not the belief that the work was good or bad. You had already stopped measuring it in those terms by year 4. The illusion that crumbles is the belief that you were in it, that you, the person behind number 187, had a function beyond function. The briefing room continues. The recycled air circulates. The dry erase markers dry out and are replaced. You complete the mission. You submit the debrief. You do not mention the name. At year 11, the organization informs you that your operational profile is being reviewed for rotation. The language in the memo uses the phrase career transition planning. You have seen this memo before. You wrote part of the template. You are offered 3 options: a training cadre advisory role, a contract intelligence position with an affiliated civilian firm, or a separation package totaling $218,000 dispersed over 36 months, subject to the terms of the non-disclosure agreements you signed at entry, at year 2, at year 5, and at year 9. You count the signatures. There are 41 pages of things you will never describe in accurate terms to anyone for the remainder of your life. You choose the separation, not out of protest. Out of a kind of metabolic honesty, you recognize your own signal degradation now, even if you would never name it in a report. The system caught it too, which is why the memo arrived. On the last day, you walk the facility corridor at 0600. The temperature is 61 degrees Fahrenheit. The hum of the generators runs at the same frequency it has run for 11 years. A new operator, number 221, passes you in the corridor and does not make eye contact. This is correct behavior. You remember doing this to the man who held your number before you. You hand in the lanyard at the admin desk. The desk officer scans it without looking up. You sign a final form. You walk through a door that does not open from the outside once it closes. Behind you, the facility continues. The briefings happen at their scheduled times. The formation assembles at 0430. A new name is elevated in someone's report and filed somewhere, and will be watched for 37 months. The corridor temperature holds at 61 degrees. The generators hum. The servers run. The system did
not need you. It needed a 187. It has a 221 now. The requirements are the same. The form is different. The form was always the part that was expendable. You stand in a parking lot in a city you are permitted to name. The air is warmer than 61 degrees. You are not sure for a moment what to do with that. You begin to walk. Somewhere inside the facility number 221 is learning the hum. The machine did not break, it simply found a newer part.